Welcome to this other episode of Pound for Pound. I'm your host, Henry Cejudo, aka Triple C.
And the Nigerian Nightmare, Kamaru Usman.
And guys, we have a special guest, one of the greatest of all time, one of the greatest welterweights of all time, Georges St-Pierre. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a round of applause, man.
Oh, man.
Thank you for having me, guys. I'm happy to be here with you.
A Shadowline production. You know what's surreal for me right now, George, is like, at one point, obviously, you are the greatest welterweight of all time, but, you have Kamaru Usman next to you.
So you flip-flop that quick? that quick.
Counter defenses, but
you can't compare the time, we were in different times.
But obviously, you watching the reign of Kamaru, what he did at the welterweight division, I mean, you had to have had your lenses on. At that time, you're thinking comeback. You're thinking, obviously you fought Michael Bisping. You're thinking about that certain return. Watching Kamaru Usman make that reign. How was it? How is it that you saw his situation? Could you put yourself in his shoes? Because you're there at one point.
Yeah, he had an amazing ride, and it's not over. He's still competing. I don't know your current position now, but he's still out there. When I retired and I was thinking of coming back, I think it was Tyron Woodley who was the champion at the time. Then I fought Bisping, and when I retired, I think it was Woodley, but it's after, if I remember correctly, that you became champion, and it was an amazing performance. Took him down, and it was a great fight. Yeah.
If I could say something, you guys had on paper the mixing of the fighting. I tell this to Kamaru all the time. The ability of what you were able to do, how you mixed everything. I'm like, you guys almost on paper have the same style, but a different style. Because you guys knew how to mix it. It's like Kamaru always did a really good job, in particular that fight with Tyron Woodley. I'm like, why did he beat Tyron Woodley? Why did he beat a guy like Sean Strickland, who's very dangerous? I'm like, it was Kamaru's mixing of his level changes. Every time Kamaru would level change, he'd be like, all right, there's a double coming. Oh, no, never mind. There's that overhand just came. So it's almost like a mixing. And obviously for you, Kamaru, watching Georges St-Pierre, how much, the way he mixed his fighting, how much did you take away from that?
It's, first of all, thank you, my brother. Now getting to know, it's amazing getting to actually kind of know you now and speak to you and talk to you. I get to learn from you. I think, when you're in the mix and you're competing, there's this, it's like right now, it's like we're sitting here and then there's just two lions that are sitting in the room. You don't know if they're gonna go at each other. There's that energy, so you always kind of on edge of, I don't know, is he sizing me up? Is he not sizing me up? So I understand that. I understand that position that you might have been in so many times. And, now being, in that kind of position, I understand, they say experience is the best teacher. So I understand a lot more now. So, I want to say, it's a pleasure. And, to answer your question, Henry, you've been in the UFC since what, 2007, I believe?
Yeah, it's a long time. I would have to look it up. I don't know the date by heart, but it's around that time. And it's interesting what you just said, Kamaru, about being on edge. Because I'm a little bit older than you guys, but you will find out soon enough that what I'm about to say is true, is that I used to be on edge all the time, especially when I was around other fighters competing in the same weight class as me, because you're always like, if he says something, it's going to be viewed as a challenge, so I'm going to be ready to... So you're always on edge, and it's true that that's how we are, because that's the business. It's not our fault, that's the name of the game. But as time goes by, and I retired, I made peace with it, and I'm no longer on edge with nobody. And it's normal because you're still competing, and I understand, and you don't want to change that, because that's a competitive spirit that you have, your ego. And you need that if you want to be successful, because that's what that's what makes you stand up during adversity. That's what keeps you sharp. You never want to lose that as long as you compete. But when you made peace with it and you retire, now it's time to go back and as a normal human being and be a normal citizen, and you have to let it go. And that's what it's very hard for a fighter, to let it go. That's why you see some guys, they hang there too long, and they accumulate loss and loss and loss, and they hurt themselves, hurt their legacy. You don't want that to happen, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I completely understand that, because I think maybe the first times we were around each other, it was because a lot was made of us maybe fighting. And so it puts that on your shoulder, that chip on your shoulder. So whenever you're around each other, because as alphas, we're all alphas. So when you're around each other, you're around another man of that caliber. It's like, you're always on that edge of, if he says anything here, you have to go. We have to go. And so we always kind of felt that, but it's, like you said, over the years, once you rule it out as that's no possibility, that's not a threat, I'm not in danger here, I don't feel that, then you move on from that.
But I also think, George, that's what's made you, is having a little bit of that fear, knowing that there's guys up and coming. Like me and Mike Tyson talk about it all the time. And he talks about how fear is a good thing. Like, you cannot have courage without fear. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, you need a little bit of those nerves. You need a little bit of that chip on your shoulder. You even call it weight. But I could tell like now, like, you're free. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, me especially, I retired for 3 years at the age of 33 from just simply being, I have accomplished everything I set out to do. What else is there? If there could be an incentive, I would love to come back. But at the same time, the preciousness of leaving on your terms, I don't think there's no money that could really replicate that. So I respect Khabib for what he's done, but also, and for you, I respect it because you're in a position where I feel like the champ forever.
It's an industry that is very, very egotistic. Everything is based on pride and ego, and fighting is all about that. That's what keeps us strong, otherwise we will fold all the time.
But I heard you say before, ego's good.
Yeah, it's good as a fighter. Is one of the best things you can have as a fighter, because it makes you strong. In a normal society, sometimes you need to put your ego on the side to be a better person. And it's hard for a fighter to do that. And like, you have guys like for example, like you're, how old are you? Like,
I'm 37 now.
You're 37. You're 37, and when I got to 36, 37, I retired at 37. I asked myself, am I the best that I ever been? And when I closed my eyes, I was thinking, I was like, I think I have the most knowledge I ever had in my life. It's right now. In terms of knowledge, I'm higher than I ever been, but my physicality maybe started to a little bit go down. I don't recuperate as well as I used to. So I started to ask the question is like, how do I want people to remember me? Because maybe sooner or later I will lose. Nobody can beat time. And if someone beats me, is it because he's better than me, or is it because time catch up to me and I'm no longer the best I could be? You know what I mean? So, and that's when I started thinking about this. I was like, you know what? I think for me, it's time to let go, and I want to retire on my term,
Yeah. Do you think part of that too was you didn't want to feel that weight anymore, that pressure anymore? Because obviously we've all seen and heard documentaries of you, throwing up before you fight, being scared before you go out there. But obviously when you performed, it was a different thing. It's almost like, and I remember quote unquote, what George said is like, and this is something that I've always taken from you, is like, you got to act your way in. Even if you don't feel it at that moment, you got to act like you're just there, and it'll slowly kind of come in. And that's one thing that I could say, George, that I've really taken from you more than anything on that aspect, is like, you know what? He's 100% right. If you're not fully, if you don't feel ready to fight, whatever, act yourself into it. It'll slowly come back.
Well, I'm going to tell you something, guys. I never liked it. I never liked to fight. I liked the sport, the science of it. I like to go train in the gym, the camaraderie that I have with my training partner, the science of it, the freedom that fighting gives me, the money, the access of things that others that doesn't have. This, I love it. But the grind of knowing you're gonna fight Saturday night against that killer that's gonna try to rip your head off. I'm like, no, I don't like it. I mean, it put me in a very uncomfortable situation. Some people liked it, but I never liked it. If I could close my eyes and snap my fingers and fast forward to till the end of the fight, I would have done it every single time. Yeah. And the reason why I really retired is because it took a lot out of me, and I stopped developing a condition called ulcer colitis. It's an inflammation of the intestine. And my last fight, when I fought Bisping, I tried to eat to gain weight, and I have a very hard time gaining weight, and I forced myself to eat, and maybe the doctor told me that's probably why, and I developed that.
So you not fighting right now, George, you're like fucking quote unquote relief.
Yeah, I when I get diagnosed with ulcer colitis, I got, in terms of stress, I got relief, but also I started doing intermittent fasting, and it cured all my symptoms. I am no longer on medication. I used to be on severe medication. I used to go to bathroom and it was a lot of blood. I thought maybe I had cancer. But I was telling myself during training camp, I was like, whatever it is, I'm gonna wait until the end of the fight, because to find out what it is, you need to do what they call a colonoscopy. It's a camera they put, and for that, they put you on laxative, and I was trying to gain weight, not to lose weight. So I was like, whatever it is, I'm gonna fight and see what it is after.
Can I tell you something, George? And I think maybe Kamaru could probably relate. When I was a kid, and I remember first starting to I was a kid that always played on the street, breaking windows. You're Dennis the Menace. But when it came down to like competition, there was something special about me to where I took the sport so serious. And I was a kid that played with everybody, but when it came to competition, this is at 10, 11 years old, I wouldn't talk to anybody. Like, just talk about like being zoned in until I'm an adult. So even now, as I get older, and what is it that could kind of maybe bring more out of me? To me, it was starting a shtick. Starting a persona, because I am that type of guy that when I was a kid too, is I loved being chased. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it made it so much more fun for me to be able to get chased and add a little bit more pressure with me, because it's almost, I could almost relate to you, George, in the sense where I get what that pressure feels. I get what it could possibly do to you. But I think I try to use it in a way where I'm like, you know what? Let's fucking double down. Like, let's double down on this, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I'm sure you guys know or have training partner that shines in the gym.
Absolutely.
You know? They're the best in the gym, but when the lights are on, they just can't perform. And that's what you just said is, I knew I was at my best when the pressure, the stake is high.
But do you think you were like that when you were a kid? Like, were you the exact same, or you think?
I think I was like that when I was a kid as well. And I learned how to deal with it, but that's how I think I perform at my best, but some guys don't. But obviously you guys were champions, you know. That's how I think you guys perform at your best too, you know what I mean? But not everybody is like that, you know.
Absolutely. There's one thing that I always watched and growing in the sport and actually watching you, because you were in the UFC while I was still in college. You were already beating up dudes, and I'm watching, and I'm just like, oh man, that's because I don't know if I want to do the sport. Because I myself, I don't like fighting. I don't like it. I never grew up saying, oh yeah, I want to fight. I want to beat guys up. That was never a thought for me. It was, I was competing. I wanted to compete. I wanted to be the best. Even when I was wrestling, I was the guy.
Tell George about that girl who used to beat you up.
The who?
When you're wrestling.
No, it's when I got into wrestling, and my first practice was a girl in our group. And she just, I've never felt.
She used to roll him up, dude. She used to roll the Nigerian diver.
I never felt, because you never think of these things as a human. As a kid, I never thought that someone could hold you on your back, and most humans don't know how to get up. You can't get off your back. It's another person holding you down, and you can't get up. And it was just something about that was so humbling, and I was like, no, I have to learn. So I kept coming back. And over time, I realized I learned something. I was in the sport. But going back to my question is, for you, I remember watching you, and I'd watch you fight guys, and I'd watch you break guys down. And for me, it was just like, that. I'm a collegiate champion. I'm a wrestler. That guy's not gonna do it. That guy's not gonna beat me. And I'm watching you, and I wasn't even in a thought process of maybe fighting. I watched you fight Josh Koscheck, and I watched you just piece him up, put the jab on, and it was almost when you first come in,
NCAA champ.
Yeah, NCAA champion, and when you first come out, I could see kind of, because everyone has that look on their face of that. You don't know if you're scared. You don't know if your adrenaline's going, and you just look like you've been sleeping all day. And everyone, you watch guys. There's some guys now because the sport is the sport's so big. There's guys that entertainers now, but back then you'd see guys with that look, and I saw you had a look like that coming in, but you were defending your title.
Yeah.
And the fight starts, and you just start building, and you're mixing on, and you're hitting him with the jabs, and I think you took him down a couple times. I think maybe in that fight.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, how is he able to break guys down? For you, when you step in, because I know the feeling when you're in there and the ref looks at you and goes, "Are you ready?" They don't even give you a chance to say, "No, I'm not ready." They just go, "You ready?" Yeah. You ready? You ready? No! Let's go. So, they don't give you that time. So for you, how is that feeling when they're saying, "Are you ready? Let's go," and you're getting into the fight? Because like Henry was saying earlier, if you're one of those guys that kind of have to get into the fight, if a guy comes at you with extreme intensity, how does that work, and how do you control that?
So the way it works for me, and if I can back up a little bit, I'll explain to you my thought process. Well, I always wake up the morning of a fight and I don't feel good because I don't sleep well the night before, because I make too much scenario in my mind of, if you do this, I'm gonna do this. And sometimes there are a flash that comes into my mind that I see myself doing well, and sometimes I see myself losing, not doing so good. Yeah. But I would say, for people who are listening to us, I use James Lange theory. James Lange is a philosopher, also I would say he's got a revolutionized ways of thinking, because we all know that our mind can dictate our body. Let's say I'm thirsty, my mind tells myself, grab the water and drink. But also my body can dictate my mind, and that's what James Lange says. So he says that if you start acting like someone, you will become that person in a way. So every morning I wake up, I don't feel great. I feel like I'm under rest because I had a shitty night of sleep. But I always put a mask on myself, and when I go in a room to have breakfast with my team, they all know that I had a shitty night of sleep and I don't want to be there. But they always ask me the question, "Hey, how do you feel, George?" I always answer the same thing. "I feel great. It's gonna be a good day tonight. We're gonna kick ass, guy. I can't wait." And they all laugh because they know I'm lying. Because all my boys, my training, my coaches knows how I am. So as the fight get closer, it's like a funnel, but things get worse and worse. I have more stress. Absolutely. And this stress start building up, by the way, as soon as the fight get announced, but now it gets worse and worse. And it gets worse until I reach the locker room. It's unbearable. Like, I see some guys get knocked out coming back in the locker room, get all messed up, like sometime on stretches, and you're like, "God damn, I'm the next one." But you don't want to act like this, so you pretend like everything is normal and everything, but deep down inside, you're scared and terrified. And what I do to put myself into the perfect mind zone, mine is, when I know I'm the next one, so the peak, the epitome of my stress is, I would say, right before I'm about to walk in. When I know, let's say the fight before mine, because I normally, in the last few fights of my career, I was fighting for a title. So when I know I'm next, and I know the UFC guy is about to kick the door and say, "Hey, St-Pierre, you're up next," I tell my coaches, I say, 1 minute, I go to the bathroom. And I don't go to the bathroom to pee. Sometimes I do, but I go to the bathroom because I have a ritual. I look at myself in the mirror and I start talking to myself. And before, I used to put my bandana, my gi as I'm doing it, but now would no longer have the chance to have that. So I look at myself in the mirror and I tell myself all the reason why I'm gonna win. I'm stronger than him. I'm faster than him. I have better coaches than he does. I'm more well prepared. I've done all the sacrifices. I sparred this guy. This guy is a freaking killer, and I was able to do well. There's no way we would have done the same thing. I tell myself every single reason why I'm gonna win that fight. And when I step outside the room, I'm different. Now I'm on cruise control, and I trust my instinct until I go to the octagon. I walk in, and now I really trust myself. And when I'm in the octagon and Bruce Buffer is announcing, I look at my opponent and I tell myself the key word, the objective that's gonna make me champion. Because, for example, when I fought Michael Bisping, I knew he was bigger and stronger than me, so I didn't want to stay in front of him because I know it would be a bad choice for me. So I was like movement, all the way in, all the way out, speed, kill, movement, all the way. So I repeat these thoughts in my mind until I go for the face-off. And I'm telling myself, I don't want to sound arrogant, but that's what I'm telling myself right when I face him up. I say, it's going to be a bad night for you. I'm going to be a worst nightmare. Speed, all the way in, all the way out. Speed, all the way in, all the way out. Speed, kill, and then we back up. Now the referee go, are you ready? And that's how I build up my confidence. I talk to myself. I mean,
That is so surreal that you say that, because I've never heard you say that, but I'm like, and I didn't learn all these. I wasn't taught these things.
Yeah.
I do almost similar.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I lost the fight, the Edwards, the second fight, because that fight I just had a lot of stress on me. But I was in the bathroom and I'm in the mirror, and I was walking back and forth. I'm looking at the mirror because I look at I put myself in the scenario and I'm talking to myself in the mirror. But even before that, like I do that in my face-off. That's why when they bring you back in, because most of us were main events for our last few fights, and I'm sitting there I'm crossed over. I'm talking in my head. They don't hear me, but I'm talking in my head, and I'm talking to the guy in my head, and then we back up, and then it's time to go. But it's a mental process, and I'm in this process the whole time. And I think a lot of it has to do with preparation. It comes from preparation.
You know who did that one time in the interview, and he did it loud, is John Jones. Before he fought DC, he told DC in an interview, he said, I'm gonna go out there and something like I'm gonna go out there and put you down and beat you up, and there's nothing you can do, Daniel Cormier. And I told myself, I said, he just did it, but he did it loud. But you know what I mean? Some guys like McGregor does it loud too.
Yeah.
But me, I just did it in my mind. I think you need to have that kind of arrogance in a way to be confident, to build up your confidence. Sometimes it's not because you're an arrogant person. It's just that it's a way to build up your confidence.
Well, not so much that, but even what John Scholes said, like when you say something that's powerful, it's almost like you're signing that contract, whether you know it or not. Even you're selling it with blood, because now it was your
1,000% belief
against what is it that you just
himself.
said?
When he said it, I don't think any fighter. I don't think there was any fighter that real fighter, that saw him and watched him say that live that didn't believe him. It was utter belief in his mind that this is what I'm gonna do to you.
Yeah.
And he said, he was like, I am going to hit you with any and every malicious technique that I know.
Yeah, but you know what though?
That's what he said. Yeah.
And
something
I was just like, oh shit, he means that.
Yeah.
Oh, he mean that.
But you know what, George? You also did have that same mentality. I'm gonna tell you where. It was Georges St-Pierre, Matt Hughes too. There was that one time at that fight. I remember I remember actually I watched that fight live. This was in the early to mid 2000s, and I remember George said, "You know what? He's not that good. Like I was winning the fight, like my head got to me. I was able to get upper, I was able to lose it." And you said, "The next time around, I'm going to beat this dude." So it was like you made that, you affirmed it. And I think when you talk about John Jones, what he said to Cormier, it was like you had said it before that too. Yeah. So it's almost like it brings everything back. So you can credit John on it, but at the same time, George, is what switched from that first fight to that second fight, and then obviously you ended up stopping Matt Hughes.
Yeah, I think confidence is very important because if I make an analogy, an athlete can have all the skills in the world, but if he doesn't have the confidence, it's a little bit like someone who has a lot of money in his bank account but no way of accessing it. You need the confidence. And there's guys that are they're very, very talented, but when the lights are on, they lose all their confidence. They don't know how to build that up. And it's very important. If you want to be successful in sport or in everything, every situation is the art of war. Even when, let's say you go ask a woman or a woman for a date, if you go without confidence, your chance of succeeding is none, is zero. You have to be confident. You go to ask your boss for a raise. You go for, anything. You go for an interview for a job. If you look down and your employer will see it and it'll be like, no, I don't want that guy. Everything you do, you need to do it with confidence. It's very important.
So that's all it was from the Matt Hughes 1 to 2. You just became more confident. It was more of a belief because you already been in there with them, or it was more of like, no, I'm not gonna lose again.
I think I was a little bit better than I was when I fought him the first time in terms of skills, in terms of knowledge. But I think what made the big difference is my confidence.
But even watching one, George, you're papping him up.
When I fought Matt Hughes the first time, I could not even look at him in the eyes when I did the stare down with him. I was going into that fight to not lose instead of going there to win. And I was a very different person from the first one to the second one.
Yeah, I think it's a lot to do with, obviously, mentally they build this guy up. He's that guy. He's Matt Hughes. He's the biggest, baddest, scariest guy. And no matter what you do, and a lot of people say now, oh, just block it out, ignore it. You can't. You can't. You're a human being. It's like reading comments. Is 99 people says, oh, you're the best ever, but the one person says you suck. That's the only one that you really think about. So it's almost hard. They build him up in your head, and then you get in and you kind of play a little bit safe in a way. But then when you finish and you feel the guy, and I'm saying this from experience because I just in my last fight, and you feel the guy, you're like, he's not that good. Yeah. I mean, he's good, but I'm better. I know I'm better.
In a way, it's not that he's not that good, it's that you're better than you thought you were.
I'm better than I thought I was.
Yeah.
And I have more to give that I didn't really give. And that's how I felt in this, my last fight, which might have, they build him up. He's the biggest, scariest guy in the division, the wolf, whatnot, And I was in a place where I asked for the fight. I went to Dana and Hunter. I sat with them in the office and I said, hey, I want that guy. And they were like, doesn't make sense for us, And I understand on their perspective. I understood at the time because, he's a young star that you're building. I go in and I cut that train off. And
not good for business.
Yeah, it's not good for business, And they partially knew, well, especially because when I ask for a fight, they know what I'm gonna do to the guy and what I'm in my mentality at the point. Because I've only asked for maybe 2 fights. One of them was at Masvidal, the second fight, and so it's just I asked and it didn't make sense for them. But eventually, months and months, because I wanted a camp. Let me prepare for the guy and fight the guy. But months and months later, they didn't have one, and they called me in 2 weeks and, hey, you want to fly there and fight the guy? And I said, I'll let you know in the morning. Yeah. So I go to the gym. I call some guys. We spar. Yeah, let's go. I'm not as bad as I thought. Let's go.
Did you take risks like that? What he's saying, like what Kamaru's saying? Because in reality, man, when people find out the shit that he had prior to fighting, they're gonna trip out. But were you one of those kamikazes like, I'll take the fight?
I took some fight that I had injuries. Not injuries that would really makes a huge difference, but that injuries that now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, shit, maybe I should not have taken it. Or personal issues. When you have personal issues, even
is that worse than an
it's
injury?
even worse because I'm gonna tell you why. I think I see it as a triangle. Like you have your emotion, your mental, and your physical. If one of it doesn't work well, it affects everything. For example, if you have an argument with, I give you an example. If you have an argument with, I don't know, like your loved one or someone die out that you care about, emotionally, you're not 100%.
Yeah.
It will affect your mental and it will affect your physical because maybe you're not gonna sleep well. Your emotion will delay your recuperation, and then you get more prone to injuries. So everything is linked with each other. So when I tell the young guys in the gym, sometimes they like, oh, I feel like I'm overtrained. I don't understand. I haven't done more volume. I'm like, yeah, maybe it's because something is not going well in your life, in your personal life. Oh, I haven't thought of it. I'm like, yeah, but think it that way. You know what I mean? It's all linked together. You know, it's very important. You know.
Yeah.
How did you juggle from being at TriStar and also Jackson? Like, how is it that you kind of mixed like your whole thing? Because I remember, reading up on you, and obviously watching you do what you did, like growing up and actually watching you fight. I remember you would train with, Saudi, the Olympic silver medalist.
Yeah.
You would go and find the best in Freddie Roach for boxing. But then, you would do all this mixing. You would really give attention to the base, but yet you would go to two different teams.
So in Montreal, where I grew up, we didn't have a lot of MMA fighters. I had like my early on in my career, my sparring partner were like only a few guys were. I'm talking about elite fighters that are known that I spar with are David Loiseau. Firas Zahabi, who's my coach, he was my sparring partner. Who else? Like I had a few guys, but that are not very known at the time. Like later on, I had like Dennis Kang, Francis Carmon. I had like Rory McDonald, but these guys came later. I'm talking about early on in my career. I had like Stéphane Potvin. I'm sure people don't know Christophe Midou. We fought in UFC, but not a lot of people. So the main two guys that I had that were known at the time were Firas and David Loiseau. So not having a lot of variety of training partners, so what I told myself is like, I'm gonna make my wrestling, just pure wrestling better. So I went with some of the guy at the Montreal Wrestling Club. There's a lot of people from Russia that don't have their citizenship at the time, but they were very good. So they took me underneath their wing. I went to boxing. I was sparring with world champion boxers in boxing. So I was mixing it up, and I have a very good background in karate. So I was mixing that up, and I met Rashad during one of the time I was traveling. I think it was for a promotion of one of my future fights. I met Rashad Evans. And we decided to train with Rashad Evans. Well, yeah, we decided to train with each other. And after we trained, we were like, man, we need to train more. So Rashad invited me to Albuquerque. Then I started helping guys like Rashad.
That's how it started.
Yeah, that's how it all started. I started training with Nathan McWhort, Leister, Donald Cerrone.
Carlos Condit.
Yeah, Carl Condit wasn't there at the time. It was Kid Jardine.
Was Ali in the gym?
But Ali, I met Ali when I used to go to the Renzo Gracie Academy in New York. So at that time I was broke. I didn't have a lot of money. So Ali, I was like sleeping in his house. Ali was sleeping in his house in Brooklyn.
You're sleeping at Ali's house?
Yeah, you used to hear gunshot and like at I think it's the neighborhood where Notorious B.I.G. grew up. Yeah. So that's how I met Ali. Ali and I would go a long way.
Wait, so he was already, man, he's
He didn't get you a fake Gucci bag or something like that?
And Ali, by the way, people, you guys know him. He's a very good cook.
Yeah,
if you ask him to cook you a breakfast, trust me, it's gonna be one of the best breakfasts you ever had. There's something you don't know about Ali Abdelaziz.
But there's one thing that you and Ali do have in common is Ali used to be a bouncer in Colorado Springs. I think you know that.
Yeah,
back in the day. And they used to tell me it was like, little dude, judo guy. He was like, man, that's one of the meanest motherfuckers that you'll ever meet. Like getting people out of the club. Yeah. And again, because I've known this dude since 2004, 2005, the first time I met Ali. But they were saying, I couldn't get to the club at that time, I was too young. But they're saying that at times Ali would, the only way he would get people out is he would literally use the door to get these dudes out to kind of teach them a lesson. But obviously, I know you were bouncing at one point too.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, how was that? How many people did you have to put out?
Man, it was the worst job I ever did. I did not like it. I even hate it even more than fighting because it was very stressful. I was bouncing in a hip hop club. I was bouncing at two places. I was one in a place that was a hip hop DJ, and I love hip hop. I love it. But hip hop attract. I don't know if it's still the same.
Yeah.
It attract the people that want to be
now.
gangster and a gang member. And it was a bad crowd, you know. And
Why'd you look at Kamaru?
It
Though,
might
you
be.
said that.
no, but nowadays you can't say anything.
Yeah.
You say, people that track, are you racist? That's not what
It might be even worse right now.
I think
But
so.
I hear you. Yeah, but go ahead.
So I was bouncing in a hip hop club, and I'm not very big. A lot of my coworkers were big guys that were more scary looking than I am. So when I used to go and tell someone, hey, because he threw a bottle or he grabbed a girl's ass, hey man, you need to accompany me outside. He used to laugh at me. So I used to call back up. And sometimes my coworker arrived, it takes a long time. So I had to go myself and to carry him out. So I had to do this many times. And I hated it, you know, because a bouncer, I think it's not about skills. It's about, you need someone who needs to take top, but you need a guy that looks tough so people respect him. I don't look tough, you know, and I wasn't known at that time. Maybe I was the most dangerous guy in the club, but nobody knew.
There's a big question that I want to ask that's been on my mind. There was at one point when, you know, there was like a potential comeback. George is feeling good again. He wants to fight. And then there was a fight I was throwing around that it was going to happen. And Oscar De La Hoya was saying, yes, he's going to fight. He's going to fight George, and the fight's done, the fight's signed, and everyone. And I remember saying, I was excited for that. You know, I was champion at the time. I was like, I would love to compete with George, but maybe this might be a step. Maybe he fights him, and then he feels the bug, and he wants to come back and fight MMA. And then nothing happened.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to that fight?
The Oscar De La Hoya, it was not an MMA fight, obviously. It was a boxing.
Yes.
But boxing with bigger gloves, like 16 ounce.
Oh.
Sparring gloves.
Yeah, sparring.
And, you know, Oscar is almost 10 years older than me. I don't have the audacity of saying that I'm a better boxer than Oscar in his prime. There's no way. Oscar was one of the best of all time. Oscar in his prime would have beat me in boxing, like, easily. But because I'm younger than him, and I think I have less mileage than he does, I think it would make a fair fight. And I think I would have beat him in boxing.
Yeah, I think you could have held your own.
And because the rules were made in a way that to minimize the risk of injuries, you know, I would have done it. But to come back and fight MMA, a real fight of MMA, I don't want to do. I didn't want to do this, you know. But and we agreed to put half of the money for a charity, so it would have been a good show.
Why didn't it happen?
It did not happen because Dana White told me, he's like, no, Dana White hate Oscar De La Hoya, and my contract after you retire, you still have a few years depending the contract, but my contract was the way it's made is I still have ties with UFC up to, I can't remember the name, the number of years exactly. I can't say it because I don't want to be inaccurate, but I still had ties with UFC. And Dana, when I asked him the permission, he's like, I can't say it the way he said it to me.
You can say it. Say it, Joe.
Beep, beep, beep. F that guy, no, F that guy. I'm like, okay, Dana, it's all right. So that's why. And then he called me after. He said he wanted me to fight Khabib, but Khabib already retired, and I already retired. So then he could say, oh, he doesn't want to. Whatever. It's
but you know what's
with a fight with me though, was that ever offered a fight with me?
He never offered me to fight you, and it was, I can't remember when it was. It was many years. Is it many years after I retired, or?
Yeah, because you retired in 2017.
So the only time I would have considered to make a comeback is when I remember it was in a talk that even people were telling me that Khabib, after he fought Justin Gaethje, was going to grab the mic and call me out. And I was the commentator for the UFC.
Yeah.
That was the only fight I would have made in terms of legacy to come back at the time, and it was before that.
So this would have been then
The
that
only
means,
one I would have
So
done.
that means Khabib would have gone up to 170 pounds. You guys would have fought.
I think it would be either 170 or a meet in the middle, because I'm not a big welterweight. I weigh around 183 pounds. You know,
Shit.
I never lost a lot of weight. I'm very wide. My shoulders are wide, but I'm not very thick.
Ask him how big he gets.
He's 200. The most welterweight are 200 pounds, I'm sure.
Most. I've touched 200 one time.
Yeah.
I walk around like 190, 191. Yeah. So we look the part when we're in there. You know, because you looked huge when you're in there. Everyone says, "Oh, he's the biggest."
I have a big, long reach, but I'm not. I have a long reach, but I'm not thick. You know, if you look at me from the side, I'm not that thick guy. But most welterweight, I think,
Nowadays.
they're about 200 pounds. Like even some back in the day, like before USADA arrives, like shit, some guy were big. I mean, I can't say the name, but man, it was
Some guy
bad.
cut from 210.
Yes.
What was it about that Khabib fight that made you want to come back and not fight at middleweight, but eventually at a catchweight 165 pounds? What was it about Khabib that you wanted to? That was like, you know what, this is worth my legacy to fight this man.
But you have to always think of what you can gain and what you can lose, you know, and it would be a fight that everybody at the time wanted to, because Khabib had a perfect career, you know, nobody ever beat him, and he was like, he retired on top. And at the time, that was the fight that everybody wanted to see. So if it would be a time that I would have made a comeback for one fight, right after I retired, it was that time. But I always told myself that after 40, now I'm 42 years old, after when I hit the 4-0, it's finished. There's nothing that can make me come back, you know, like it's finished. So I was about 38, 39 when that happened, you know. And even his own people, told me, some of the people told me that, hey, I think he's gonna ask for you. And then when he retired, I think everybody got surprised.
That makes me feel bad, George, because
But you know what?
You were willing to come for him, but not me. God damn it, George.
Well, it's all about timing, right? It's after
It's the same De La
amount.
Hoya example that you gave with Khabib. Yeah, he's a little younger, but he's a little bit smaller. So I think in your experience and whatnot, I think it would fit perfect.
I don't want to sound arrogant, but Oscar, I think he had his time that he was the best in the world, but he had a lot of years of decadence, and you know what I mean? He's much older than me. Like now, I think is Jake Paul is gonna fight Mike Tyson. I mean, if you put Tyson and Jake Paul in their prime, I think there's no way Tyson will beat.
I don't know why Mike's doing that.
Mike is no longer the Mike he used to be.
Oh,
You understand?
He's going to be 58 this year.
So that's why I would have taken that fight. It's just that it's not that I think I'm better than Oscar. I just think Oscar was not the same he used to, even though I was probably not the same I used to be, but I think he lost more than I did. That's why I was ready to take that fight. There's one thing that nobody can beat. It's time.
Can you analyze Khabib for me? So I got a follow-up question after that.
Yes.
Give me Khabib's style. How would you analyze a guy like Khabib?
Khabib, he's got a very good overhand right. He's very good at measuring distance and at creating a dilemma in the mind of his opponent between a takedown and an overhand right. Sorry for the mic. and he's very, very good. He's at his most dangerous when he put you with your back against the fence, because he's a master at chain wrestling. My style is different. My style is more in the middle. I'm very good at using fakes and creating distraction to get in your legs. I'm more at the dynamic guy. I call it proactive and reactive takedown from the center. But Khabib is better when he's got his opponent his back against the fence. So my strategy, if I would have gone against Khabib, would be to keep the fight most as I can in the middle and not being afraid to go for taking down. I think I would have maybe be the first guy that he fought, or one of the only first guy that would have tried to put him down. And I've put down everybody that I've fought in my career.
Damn, that would have been so good, because you know what's made your wrestling what's giving you that timing? It was karate.
Exactly.
It was understanding that distance. And I think with a guy like Khabib, who's a freestyle fighter, I think that's what makes him complicated, is the fact that they're freestyle fighters. They don't have like a certain base. They just fight with the recognition of distance. And obviously, it's like that same overhand that you're talking about, the one that he caught McGregor. If you watch that overhand, how he caught it, he looked down. He sold it with his eyes to once you come back and throw that overhand, eventually catch him. So that would be the key. You fight Khabib a few years ago, you stick it straight in the center. You would probably anticipate him, I imagine, but you would definitely be a little bit of karate with throwing some of those jabs of yours, but then also maybe even time and try to look for those takedowns.
I think most guys that fought Khabib were afraid of Khabib takedown, so they were fighting on their heels and they were getting backed up to the walls a lot of the time. One guy who did, three guys that fought Khabib who did very well is Gleison Tibau. Very, very close fight. Very, very. If you watch that fight, it's very, very close. Michael Johnson, who's my training partner. Michael Johnson and I were very close.
Okay, now talk about Michael Johnson.
Michael Johnson. If you watch the early minute of the fight, he's doing fantastic job until he lost his confidence, because Michael Johnson is incredibly gifted, very, very talented. But when things start not going his way, he goes. Is the floodgate open? You know, I think that's one of the mistakes he did. You know. And if he would have started the second round as good as he did in the first, he would have had a better performance. And another guy who did well is Gaethje. Gaethje in the beginning did very well. Kick, punch, he hit that very until similar story. Things start to not go well, and then everything fall apart.
When you start thinking of people and start looking at opponents, you know, I got my way of breaking things down. Like for me, like first I was like, all right, let me look at me. Let me look at my strengths. Let me look at my weaknesses, possibly my opportunities where my opponent probably could expose me. But how is it that when you look at a fight, you're looking, all right, I'm going to fight Khabib. I'm going to look at my strengths. I'm going to look at his strengths. And then where is it that I'm actually going to take it? Because the best in the world, when it comes to becoming a world champion, it all comes down to tact.
Well, I don't know. It's easy. I can say whatever I want, but I think Khabib could have beat me. I'm not saying I would have beat Khabib all the time. I was confident enough to take that fight that I was thinking that if I take that fight, I'm going to beat him that day at that particular place, at that particular, that doesn't mean I will beat him all the time, but I was confident, but maybe I'm wrong. I think I would have beat him because in a way that I was going, if he would have come to put pressure on me, I would have put him down. Yeah. I would have been confident to try to go for it.
If there's one thing that you'd be like, all right, man, he may have the edge. Would you say the age? Would you say the recovery?
The age of recovery, yes, that's one thing. And if you put my back against the fence and start chain wrestling me, I think he has a better
a chance.
I'm very good in that position too, but that's his game. That's where he's at his best.
That's where he could potentially fatigue you.
Yeah, there's something about Khabib that a lot of people you don't feel unless you're in there. And I like to, when I fight guys, I feel this too, I fight their heart. I like to fight their heart, their feelings, their emotions. And Khabib, what he does a good job of. It's a slow pressure that he puts on you. Even though, especially in the fight, like you mentioned, the Michael Johnson fight, even though like you're hitting them, boom, 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 you're landing clean shots, but it's a slow pressure. He's still there. He might back up because you hit him with a couple of shots, but he comes back. He's there. And we're locked inside a cage. So over time, you can't run too far. Yeah. He's there. He's level changing. He's there to where, all he needs is that one. Put you up against the fence, jump in there, get that chain wrestling, and now he starts to go to work because the whole time you've been training for, I need to stay off the cage.
Yeah.
I need to not go down. And so once you do go down, if you're not mentally strong enough to know, okay, I'm gonna get up, it's just a floodgate. So it starts to open up.
Yeah, I think when you prepare yourself in every fight, you need to expect the worst scenario. You cannot go into a fight thinking like, oh, that's not gonna happen. No, you have to think in a way that you tell yourself, if that happened, I'm gonna do that. Yeah. And I think a lot of guys, they make the mistake going into the fight, say, hey, I don't want to go there, and then once they go there, they panic, And a lot of guys, you talk about slow pressure. I remember when I fought Nick Diaz, he's similar style, and he's talking to you. A lot of guys, they throw haymakers at him and they hit, and he's like, I can't say on camera what he says to me, but
Say it, George. Say
you hit like a bee. Come on, friend. And he's insulting you, and man, you feel claustrophobic. Like I just put my hard jab, and he's laughing at me. But it's all a fake. It's all part of his strategy. And you feel like you're claustrophobic, and you're panicking until you don't have no longer gas, because you empty your gas tank for survival. And him, he's a marathon runner. He's a triathlete. That's when he's at his best. Yeah, in deep water, he get you in the deep waters. So I was prepared for that. I know that even Ferraz, my coach, says, be ready to go 5 rounds. Like, you're going to throw some crazy good shot, and he's not going to blink. He's going to make you believe that doesn't hurt him. But
Not just that, but his boxing was so underrated. Like, he is better. He's better than his brother, man. Like, when it comes to just strictly stand up at his prime, at the time when he was, fighting the guys like Georges St-Pierre.
Paul Daly is a good example. Paul Daly, like, threw everything he had and tire himself out. After what he did,
It's like with the Diaz brothers, and I talk to Mike Tyson about this all the time. And I asked him, and it reminds me of the Diaz brothers. He's like, I'm like, Mike, what made Ali so special? What made Muhammad Ali so special? And he just sits there, and as he's smoking a joint, and he's like, you know what it is? It's his ability to endure pain. Muhammad Ali's greatest strength, and this is what he said, he says his ability to be able to take punishment and then capitalize at the right damn time. Is what made Muhammad Ali. This is coming from Mike Tyson's that mouth of what he's seen. But you don't hear a lot of people talking about people's endurance to be able to take a damn beating, to eventually find that right calculation. So, all right, now it's my turn. I'm going to finish you.
It's something I want to tell you. I studied you a lot, even before I was actually, I think, in the UFC. I studied you because when you fought, I don't know if I told you this, when you fought Johnny Hendricks.
yes.
I was brought in. I was his main sparring partner at one point. And Johnny Hendricks.
He's been tapped this whole time.
And
Tell me some more secrets. Come
and
on.
I was brought in to mimic you. So I watched you a lot going in to help Johnny Hendricks. And we had some great run. Johnny Hendricks, shout out to Johnny Hendricks. He was such a good for that. The time where he was up there, he was such a talented and a good fighter. But yeah, I had to come in, and I was doing, I thought I looked better than George. I was doing George better than George. I'm throwing the Superman low kick. I'm throwing all these things out. I'm shooting on him. I'm trying to take him down because I knew you would try to take him down. It didn't matter what his credentials were. Johnny Hendricks is a champ, but I knew you would try to take him down. So I've been studying you for a while. So I did study you before I got into there. We have a segment here called Outside the Cage. And, it's a question that we want to ask just to see where your mind is at and how you would fend here in this situation. It's a question here. If you're in an arena, in the Coliseum, and you're locked in there and you have to survive, and there's a lion in there, what would be your tactic in surviving this? Or do you don't think you have a shot at surviving?
Well, it depends on a lot of things. I watched a video on YouTube once. It's a tribe in Africa called the Maasai, and they steal meat from a lion tribes, and I'm talking about many lions, not only one lions. And the way they do it, they go with spears. There are only 3 of them. You can watch it on YouTube. It's amazing. They go there, they put on a poker face, and they go there with confidence. And when I talk about confidence, that's the extreme test right there. They go there and they say they're bluffing. They go there and they walk all together. They make themselves big. And you see the lion, they're looking at the three guys coming in. They're like, what the hell? And they start panicking. Some runs, and then the others see the other run. So they all disappear. They go away. So they come and they tell that they only have a few seconds to cut the meat they need to bring back to the village, because the lion will find out it's a bluff, and they retreat. So if I'm with a lion, I think my best chance of survival would be to make myself big, strong and confident, even though deep down inside, I'm like, I don't want to be out there. But try to be as big as possible and walk towards him. And if he walks away, try to find a way and never run, but try to find a way to always looking at him.
Trying to find
never want to turn your back, because even the Maasai, they wear a mask behind their head. So they don't get ambushed, because all these feline, they're ambush predators. So if you show confidence, I think it's your best way to
even with a lion.
Even with a lion.
Because they do say, what is it, bears? They do say when a bear is
different. You have to
get up,
make dead. You have to be dead.
Do you play dead with bears, or do you get big? I think you get big and make a lot of noise, and hopefully they run, because the bear, there's like a sound thing for bears, like a
don't get people
bear.
killed,
Okay.
dude. Don't get people killed.
Okay.
Come on,
Hey,
with this
I am
shit.
no scientist.
It's like,
I know.
Be on this.
Yeah, you have to make yourself bigger. But if he attack you, you cannot give any resistance. A bear, you have to play dead.
Really?
Yeah, it go like this, protect your organ. This I know, because I know
silverbacks too,
these
right?
are the things the stuff that I like to read about.
Like silverbacks too, like the big gorillas, right? You have to show if the dominant one, you can't challenge it. You gotta.
I have a funny story. I actually got chased by a silverback gorilla. I was in Rwanda. I did gorilla trekking, and we have a guide that was with us. He's with the same family of gorilla every day, and he told us the rules. So if a gorilla look at you, or a silverback, you don't look at him. You don't eat in front of him. You don't take flash photo. And if he comes towards you, don't run away. Just get out of the way and make yourself in a submissive pose. And that's what happened. He looked at me, he went towards me, and I get out of the way, and I put my knees on the floor like this, and I was like, please. And then I look, he's not in front of me. Then I look behind, I see him, he put his back like this. And he looked under his arm, and man, I'm gonna tell you something, I was like this. And you see, when you look on TV, a gorilla, and when you see one live, it's very different. I could see his muscle definition through the fur. I was like, shit. And he looked under his arm. And then the guide gave me the hand and kind of rescued me. But it was just a test. And he told me that the reason why he turned his back to me, it was because he wanted to show me how much not of a threat I am for him. I'm going to give you my most vulnerable position to show you that you can do nothing.
Wow.
It's very, very smart. And a gorilla, you can see in his eyes, not like a dog. It's not empty. There's all kinds of emotion. You see him, he's curious. Sometimes he's mad. Sometimes he's like, you see the facial expression, like, man, it's like a human. It's crazy. Yeah. It's definitely something, if you have a chance, go in Rwanda, do a gorilla trekking. It's an amazing experience.
Yeah. If I go with George,
and the money you give for that, it's made to preserve the gorilla. Gorilla used to be an extinct species. Now it's on the way back up, because of that.
That's awesome. So I imagine you're probably one of the guys that you like to study. Like personally, before fights too, I love to study animals. I love to study the tiger, the jaguar. That really comes to mind. Just very how is it that they actually prey? How did they catch their prey?
My job is based on snakes. The snake folds itself in to create a false feeling of security of his prey. So his prey doesn't know. He thinks it's safe, but it folds itself in, and then it launches. It's like my job. I fold myself in, stash. So I create a false feeling of security to my opponent. It's an illusion. You think I cannot touch you, but I go ding and I touch you.
Thank you for telling me, George.
If I stay here, you see the threat, right? Yeah. But if I go down and I lean on my back leg, ding.
But it gives you leverage.
Yes.
Okay, now I want to ask you one more question. Here on Pound for Pound for Outside the Cage. George, I want you to look at this so you get the feeling of it. But you are in an arena, okay? And you're in there with 50 hawks, 10 crocodiles, 3 brown bears, 15 wolves, 1 hunter with a rifle.
How many
7
bullets?
With unlimited bullet, but he's got a rifle. It's a rifle, so it's got to be, obviously you got to reload at some point.
Okay.
You've got 7 buffaloes, 10,000 rats, 5 gorillas, 4 lions. The goal is to survive for 1 hour. You have to pick 2 out of these to defend you. The others will attack you. So who are you picking?
I will pick the 50 Hawk and the Hunter with the rifle.
Why?
So if I can control, right, the behavior of the animal and the guy with the rifle, I will tell the Hawk to attack the closest threat. And as they're doing so, the guy with the rifle will shut it down. So it will create a distraction while the main threat is coming from the guy with the rifle. And it will eliminate every single one of them.
Okay, now.
That would be my choice.
Yes. You have 10,000 New York rats. 10,000 rats attacking you.
Okay.
I don't think people grasp the power.
Those are like cats.
10,000
rats in New York.
Yeah.
10,000 rats attacking you at one time.
Yes.
I think people underestimate what 10,000 rats can do. And
10,000
you got,
rat.
of course, for me personally.
10,000 rats.
For me personally, I'm going to 50 hawks, of course, and then I'm going to 10,000 rats. Because 10,000 rats, I don't care. 4 lions, 10,000 rats, after 20 minutes, those lions are gonna be just holes in them. And then you've got, like, gorillas aren't really, they just smash for a while. They're gonna get tired.
The only difference between the ox and the rat is the ox can attack the rat, but the rat cannot attack the hawk.
Yeah, but
you have a
you
aerial.
need 2 to defend you. I've
Yeah.
got aerial defense and I've got ground defense.
No, it's true. You'll survive for now. Yeah, you're right. You're probably right.
Henry, where you going?
Oof, I'm just gonna go with that rifle. Maybe add just a couple of rifles, dude. You know?
No, he got 1 rifle. He's bound. Let me reload. While there's 10,000 rats coming at you, or 4 lions, or 5 gorillas.
Well, maybe the 4 lions, whatever it is that I could pick, maybe have the 4 lions and I'm just against the wall, and just who wants to get some?
I think Henry dies in 10 minutes.
You know, it's a tough scenario to call. I don't know. But the rat, I haven't thought of the rat like that. It's true. The rat are
10,000 New York rats too, not just regular lab mice, the little white ones. we talking the New York ones that look like possums and raccoons.
But are you saying that every single animal that are your opponent, their goal is to kill you?
Yes, they're all attacking you. You pick 2, the rest are gonna try to kill you.
But man, a lion that comes in, I don't know if rats will be able to stop a lion.
Wait,
if a lion
Yeah, but why
1,000?
10,000, bro? That's like ridiculous.
yeah, but it's a lion. Like, it's gonna sprint to you.
But how look at a lion like fight. How much endurance does a lion have?
Yeah, it's in an arena. It doesn't need much endurance.
It's an arena, and I've seen a lion and 5. I've seen 5 hyenas, they mess with a lion and he can't really attack them all. But now you got 10,000 New York rats, and I keep saying it because New York rats is something different. Rats coming at you. I'm going full on rats and hawks. I want to at least have aerial and I have ground support.
That could be.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
For an hour.
I think that could be.
Have the hawks attack from the top, the rats on the bottom.
I'm sending at least 5 hawks to the man with the rifle. Go kill him first. Attack him, because he's gonna snipe you. I don't want him sniping me. So, but George, for a long time, like I mentioned earlier when we started, it's because I grew up in the sport watching you, even though we're not that much far apart in age, but you've been at it for a long time, watching you and you doing your thing, and it's out of that admiration so much to where I was just like, man, I want to compete against that guy. I want to be the guy to beat that guy, and it was all from that respect and admiration. To where now I feel like it's a lot different. These guys now, it's no respect to the art. They just want to be entertainers. They want to be superstars, which in a sense we were too, but I want to say that's where that came from, me wanting to challenge you and me wanting to fight you. That's always been where it came from. It was nothing, never from a place of disrespect, because
for the competitive edge.
Yeah.
But can I say
that's why I
something,
always
Kamaru?
had that edge. Yeah.
Can I say something, Kamaru? I think it's really good, man, that you guys, how often do you get a chance to, have the two greatest welterweights of all time, be able to chime in and, feed from each other here?
We see each other at the UFC event. I'm sure we're gonna see each other
of
again.
course.
They always set us next to each other, which is cool.
Yeah. So I just want to say, I love and respect you so much, and even now getting to know you a lot more and more and see you more. I love and respect you, and being able to learn from you and hear from you. In a sense, it's been a pleasure, and this conversation has been a pleasure. As I'm sure, so people can stop with the debate. This is my man right here. What he's done is legendary. It's gonna go down in books forever.
I think in every sport, things kept getting better because, it's like Einstein says in science, if I have seen further than others because I'm standing on shoulders and giant, the same thing. Like my predecessor, I've learned from them. I didn't have to repeat the same mistake they did because I've learned from them. And obviously, when I grew up, guys, I was in Montreal, Canada. I wanted to learn jiu-jitsu. To learn a freaking Juji Gatami armbar, I needed to drive to New York, pay a membership, go to Renzo Gracie Academy, and be live in the class to learn it. Now I can take my cell phone. Hey, look at that move. You can learn. The technology make things so much better. So that's why I think the performance of athletes gets better. So people sometimes ask me, who's the best pound for pound? For me, the one that made the difference for me because he inspired me, it was Royce Gracie. Do I think Royce Gracie would have done well in nowadays octagon? No, I don't. And I think the best pound for pound in that regards is not even born yet because things will start getting better. The records are made to be beaten.
But as of right now, because I know obviously, George, you're a very modest person. Like, who is your GOAT mountain? Who is your top four? Just not in pioneers, not like what you just said about Royce Gracie, but pound for pound when it came. But based on what you've seen, you're like, oh, that's different. Oh, he's.
Well, if you respect the time for the time being, the person that have done something that I don't think it will be ever done again for the time, I think is Royce Gracie is number one for me. I grew up watching him, but if you ask me in terms of where we are now, I think it's hard to find someone better than John Jones, man. John Jones is so good. John Jones is extremely talented, but he's also extremely tough. People have no idea how tough he is, man. I've trained with him. I've seen him like going through the grind. He's so freaking tough. I remember fights that he had, like I think with Victor Belfort, his arm got dislocated, and he fought even with a dislocated arm. Even one of his fights, his toes was broken. Most of the time, when you have a guy that is very talented, it doesn't come with toughness. John Jones is the full package. He's got everything. Elite striker, elite grappler, he's good everywhere. Of course, there's things that people will say, oh yeah, he did this, did that. But in terms of who's the best, man, and he came back, beat Cyril Gane the way he did.
Yeah, it's hard to
find. It's hard to have an argument.
Okay, so that's one out of the four. Who would be the other guy that you'd be like?
Royce Gracie, John Jones. One guy too that you beat is Demetrius Johnson.
Oh yeah.
Demetrius Johnson is one of the same thing. Man, you fought him. I think he beat you one, and you beat him once. He's another guy that I think he kept going, and he's older, and he's still beating young guys. It's incredible.
Yeah, Demetrius' ability to mix. He was like a mix. He was of you, but fast forward. That's what Demetrius Johnson is.
It's
You know what I'm
crazy.
Because he's so quick. You're like, oh shit. I remember fighting him, and I think one of the keys, because obviously he put me out the first time. And I think one of the keys when I did fight Demetrius the second time, I'm like, I cannot react to everything that he's doing because he's too quick. He's in the mix of everything. If something hits me, it hits me. But something that I did feel confident with is the fact that he didn't have that crazy power.
But you did a great job. The second fight, you were much well prepared. I remember watching, I was like, oh my God, you use your takedown and everything. It was perfect. You become his perfect nemesis. Yeah.
I used to trip them 5 times. So shout out to DJ. Sorry, not sorry.
Well, I mean, here, George, of course we could sit here and talk to you forever. You know, you have so much knowledge and it's such a great talk to be able to just learn and hear so much from you. But, you know, we got to let you go. We don't want to take you up your whole day up. But, you know, thank you for joining us here, pound for pound. I mean, we're still getting started, but it's an honor to be able to speak to someone like you. So, my man, everyone watching.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Thank you guys for watching. I'm your host, Henry Cejudo, a.k.a. Triple C.
The Nigerian Nightmare, Kamaru Usman, and of course the legend, GSP.
GSP.
Yeah.
We out.